Alright guys, welcome back to Camera Talk. So, is a speed booster worth it? So I'm not really educated enough to talk about the pros and cons of speed boosters, but from what I know about a speed booster, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it essentially allows you to widen the field of view that the lens that you attach to it has. So if you're working with an APS-C size sensor and you put on a full frame lens, say a full frame 50mm lens, and you have that lens on the focal booster and then that on the APS-C sensor camera, then it's going to widen the focal range, or widen the field of view. So instead of it being like a 50mm lens plus the APS-C crop factor, it's probably going to be more close to what the full frame look, I was going to say full frame equivalent, but the full frame look of that lens is. It kind of is almost like a way of kind of getting like a closer to full frame field of view on a crop sensor camera. And I believe that the focal booster lets in an extra stop of light, because another thing is, like on a micro four thirds camera like this one, not only do you multiply the focal range, so a 12mm on here is a 24mm full frame equivalent, so you're multiplying by 2, but you also do that, I believe, for the aperture. So an f2 on here would be an f4 full frame equivalent for the aperture. So it's worth noting. As far as I understand, that's how it works. As far as I understand. So with the focal booster, you're kind of starting to maybe narrow that gap of differences a little bit, where now you're getting to, maybe depending on the focal booster, you may be getting closer, not exactly there to the full frame equivalent. Maybe it depends on the sensor and the focal booster and stuff like that, but you're getting like closer to that. So it might be a bit of an added help, you know, if you want to get more light coming in through the lens, wider field of view on the lens that you're attaching to the focal booster. But as far as I remember, I think that ChatGPT might have told me this a while ago when I was asking about this, or maybe I heard this on YouTube somewhere. If I did, credit to whoever's told me. But essentially, I think that maybe one of the downsides possibly to a focal booster is you lose, I think you might lose some image clarity, like some image sharpness. It might like soften the look a bit more. I could be wrong about that, but feel free to look up like what's like the downsides or the cons to using a focal booster. Something of a downside probably exists. But anyway, I'll leave that there. Generally, focal boosters, if you have the budget to look into it, I'd recommend it if you're on like well, only if you're on a crop sensor camera, so whether it's APS-C or micro four thirds and you want to get closer to that full frame equivalent, it might be something worth looking at, especially if you're already adapting a lens. Then just see if maybe there's like an adapter for that lens to your lens mount on your camera that has a focal booster in it, so you could kind of do both the adapting of the lens but also some of the upsides of having the focal booster. But it's probably going to be more expensive than if you just bought like just the adapter that just has like the electronics or whatever it has in it for the adapting. So like consider like what your budget is and things like that. But anyway, I'll leave that there. Thank you for watching.